Does. Everything works. Okay, so we'll start with that's the title of the talk, Sacred Fungi Wisdom. But as we go through, hopefully I can answer some of your questions along the way, and then at the end we'll get questions. So we're going to start with a little bit about me. I actually used to think for a long time in my life that I was broken, but then there was a medicine that helped me remember who I was before the world told me to forget who I was. So to go through, obviously, you know that's mushrooms, but let's first talk about me. My name is Alex. I'm better known as a human being with love, and that's from some of my experiences that you'll learn a little bit about. But today we're going to talk about mush love, mushrooms and love. So to tell you about me and why this is so important to me, because it's a very personal topic, I was born and raised in a cult, third generation on both sides of my family. So the world that I was born into was very, very difficult. Everything was defined for me. Who I was defined for me. And unfortunately, who I was wrong. Because, first of all, this is Pride Month, so I'm trans, so that's one of the unique experiences to my life. I was very much told all the time that I was bad or wrong or other, anything other than good. So as I grew up, it got worse, and my parents put me into a solitary confinement conversion therapy for 9.5 months. And through that time, I was really broken down and told I had a wicked heart. As I got through that conversion therapy, it didn't really get any better. In fact, it made me realize I think I need to leave. So I did, believing that I had a wicked heart. That's what I believed. About a year after I left the cult, somebody came to me and said, I think you need mushrooms. I had told them about my life and everything I had been through. And I was like, cool, party drug. Like, I had heard about the colors and I really wanted to see them. So that was what I went into it thinking. But what happened was very different. My ego started to really go offline, and my ego was all of the programming that I had heard. And so the first thing that I really started to feel was love coming from the inside. I felt loved, and I could not explain it or really understand it. But the further I got into the mushrooms started to help me remember. And they told me, you're not a human being with a wicked heart. You're a human being with love. I did not know what that meant, to be honest with you. It was very overwhelming. It was amazing and euphoric, but I didn't really get it. It's taken me almost 20 years since that first journey to really integrate some of those messages and start to really feel that true connection and reconnection to myself. Because it wasn't numbing, which is what I thought I had been looking for all that time. Instead, it was connection back to myself, back to love, back to who I really wanted to be. So, everything that we talk about today first started with my lived experience because they changed my entire world. They changed my perspective. But the thing is, for me, I had to believe that I had a wicked heart in order to take them. Because in my time, like back when I took them, they were illegal. They were vilified. They were looked at as anything other than what we should be taking to help ourselves. And so today, now that they're legal, we still have a lot of barriers that we need to overcome. And if I hadn't believed I had a wicked heart, I would have never taken them. So what became the villain became the hero of my story. And I want to change that for all of us today. Because for me, when I look out in our world, I really see a lot of disconnection, numbing, pain. We don't love each other, let alone ourselves anymore. It's just not a thing that we really do. So let's talk about that, about the entheogenics and some of the things. So if we talk about the challenge a little bit, that disconnection from ourselves, our lives, and again, I'm sorry this is small. I thought there would be a bigger thing, but next time I'll bring one. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about science and the spirit. So a little bit of science, but a little bit of the woo-woo side of things as well, and how mushrooms really blend both sides of the equation. We're also going to talk about real life benefits from some experiences of people, including my own. And then we're going to talk about some bridging of, they kind of are a spiritual gateway, mushrooms. So they help you with spirituality, but then they also can help you with other things that help you with spirituality, like DMT. So we're going to bridge to that as well. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the shadows, maybe like bad trips that people might call them, or difficult journeys, because they are intense and there's some experiences. So let's talk about those as well. And then lastly, if we have time, and I hope we do, some questions so you can ask me. So please write them down or remember them if you have. All right, so first, neuroplasticity. This is where I like to start everyone because it is the most basic benefit that you can get from mushrooms. And this is just a microdose, about 0.1 to 0.2. We'll go over that again a little later. But the easiest way to think of neuroplasticity is we live in Colorado. Anybody been skiing, snowboarding, anything like that? Okay, awesome. So if you've ever gotten off the lift, you know that sometimes your skis or your snowboard gets stuck in the ridges that everyone else is making all day. But if you've ever had the experience of where you've gotten off the lift where it just snowed, or like a lift operator put snow on there for you, it's an easier run. You can steer a lot easier the direction you want to go because you're not stuck in everyone else's grooves, right? That's how your brain works. Your brain runs the same pathways over and over. Our brains are efficient. That's what they want to do. But as you've run the same pathways and neural pathways all the time, sometimes you want to make a new pathway or travel an older pathway. That's harder on a day-to-day basis. Neuroplasticity, that mushroom, your fresh blanket of snow in your brain. So if you take it in the morning with food, then for the whole day, you have the benefits of that neuroplasticity. It's not going to steer for you, but it makes it easier to make the choices that matter to you in your life and build new neural pathways. So next, I want to talk about how not just how it's easier to steer, but how those underdeveloped grooves tend to kind of end up making us have, especially if you have PTSD, depression, anxiety, any of those thoughts, it's harder to get out of those traps. So when you can steer your thoughts and make those new neural pathways, it becomes a big, big shift in your life, especially because this is a tiny little microdose. It's barely perceptible. That's the best part about it. Not just that, like I said, it helps with trauma. I have PTSD from being raised in a cult. It was very traumatic. For me, I don't know where I would be without these medicines steering me and building those new neural pathways in your brain. And for me, what was also really hard, and it might be for other people too, I couldn't really understand other people's hate and pain sometimes. I couldn't grok where they were at. I'm very sensitive. And the mushrooms helped me to connect myself with other people's experiences as well. That sensitivity then expanded me to other people and grok where they were at and open consciousness and thoughts, especially if we had mushrooms together. It's a pretty cool experience. The best part, this is a lasting change. Those new pathways are permanent and compounding. So if you build a new pathway and more pathways off of it, you get to keep going. And over 20 years, you can imagine how much benefit I've had from that. So the next thing I want to tell you about mushrooms is a couple cool things about them to really help you understand about the magic of them. First of all, mushrooms are 90% water. 90%. If you know anything about water, water has memory and it picks up things from its environment. There's actually a doctor, Dr. Emoto, I think, Masuro Emoto. I always try and not butcher his name because his work was really, really important. But what he did was he took water, he spoke words to it, different words, and then he froze it. And then he looked at the crystal structure that the words made under microscopes to see what those words did. So let's look at a few of them because his work really shows this specifically. And I really want you to be able to see this because it's really vivid in what it shows. So this one says, I can't do it. And if you look at the structure of the crystal, it doesn't even finish the entire crystal structure. It stopped. In contrast to, look at that, I can do it. You look at the difference of that, it's completely finished and it's balanced. You can see it in the words that it was spoken. Yeah, let's go back to the other one. I can't do it. You see the difference? It's pretty beautiful. Just what words can do to water. Let's look at another one.
We're made up mostly of water.
Yeah, we're going to get there. So this word is, I hate you. That's what he said to the water. Look at it looks painful to me, just that experience of the water. That's what it froze as. Yeah, exactly. In contrast with love and gratitude. Look at the way that feels. Or other way, my bad. I'm still going on there. There it is. Love and gratitude. That one's my favorite one because of how detailed and intricate it is. It's balanced on both sides. You can really see that it feels good. And that's one of the things, like I said, water, it absorbs the memory of the emotions that we impose on it because energy really matters. You don't just consume mushrooms, you collaborate with them. So the water in the mushrooms really is a magical part of that. And I think that's part of the magic of why we relate to them so well. They help us remember we absorb these things as well. We are a part of nature as well. As he said, we're 70% water. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. But for me, because mushrooms are 90% water, when I grow them, I bless the water. I speak to them the kindest words I have. And if I'm having a bad day, you know what I do? I go in there and I tell them about that too. Because we're all humans and we need to understand what's going on. And I'll tell them this is what it feels like and this is what's going on. Or I'll share other people's experiences. And it really helps, I think, imprint on them what we need and what we're going through and what they can do for us. So that's one of the most beautiful things about mushrooms is their water. And one of the things I do is I teach girl classes where I'll come to her home. I have taught her before. But one of the things, yeah, one of the things I told her when we were planting them, I said, talk to them. Like, this is your chance. You're physically touching the mycelium. Tell them nice things. But then not just today, every day, go talk to your mushrooms. Tell them your problems because they are going to be able to pick up on what you need from them. And you're going to be growing your own medicine with your own vibration and the solution to your problems that you're going through right in your own home. The cooler part about this is you can do this without growing your mushrooms, and I'm going to tell you how. So this is a really neat fact about mushrooms. Mushrooms, even if you come and get some mushrooms from me that are dried out, you could take them home, rehydrate them in a sterile environment with sterile water, take a piece of it, put it on agar in a petri dish, which is just a nutritional medium that they can grow on, and you'll grow mycelium again. Even though that mushroom has been dried out, could be for years, it will still be alive again with just a little bit of water. So you can take those mushrooms in your hand, dried, talk to them, and then guess what happens when you consume them as a 70% water physicality? Now you are collaborating with them again. You don't just consume them, they are collaborating with you in a real way. So one of the coolest things about them is because of that collaboration, I feel that that's really spirituality at its best. We really need that spirituality to connect back to ourselves and others. So to talk about that spirituality and this connection, I want to share some experiences with you. The first one, and this is up here, some of the information in case you want to write it down or anything, but this one is specifically about how you can start microdosing, and a person that came to me for microdosing information. And the reason she came to me is because her mom was going through some dementia. And it was really hard for her because her mom was forgetting who she was forgetting people in her life, forgetting things, and it was causing a lot of issues because she didn't think she was forgetting. She thought everyone else was forgetting. And so it was causing a lot of issues for everybody involved. And so she's like, I just want my mom back. Can you help me? So we started her on a microdosing regimen 4 days a week with neuroplasticity of psilocybin mushrooms. But then we added on top of that what's called the Stamets stack, which is adding lion's mane and niacin. So what lion's mane is a nootropic mushroom. So you get the neuroplasticity from the psilocybin. Then the nootropic, what that does is it starts to rebuild and repair pathways. So as you're building those new neural pathways, it's making them more permanent right away. And then the B3 vitamin, which is niacin, and you need the flushing kind, and this is why. It literally flushes that into your system further so that you can get it further in the neural pathways, further in your bloodstream. Everywhere that you need it, it is now going deep into yourself. So it's building the neuroplasticity, rebuilding any pathways, and then making them more permanent longer. So then the lion's mane and the niacin you take 7 days a week, the rest you take 4 days a week. And that just helps. For me, I think of it like when you work out, you need a rest day. That's the rest day from your brain on the psilocybin. So how did it work for her? 6 months later, she came back to me and she said, you know what? I got my mom back. And you know what? I want to start too. Because to her, she knew that it is hereditary. And she didn't want to run into those same problems. She said, I don't want my kids to see me like that. And I understand that it's not always perfect, but it works for a majority of people. And if you want to be on that pathway, you can get started now. So she is. It was, for me, one of the most beautiful experiences to have her hug me and say thank you. Because I didn't do anything. I'm just the messenger. I'm just getting to help putting in people's hands. So the next experience, one of our biggest clients is the addiction community. The addiction community, for me, what I have learned connecting to these people is addiction is so often billed as a willfulness problem. And for me, it's a connection problem, a connection to yourself, a connection to other people, a connection to society. On top of that, most people, well, not most people, I'm sorry, I misspoke, 70% of people approximately that have addiction issues also have some sort of mental health problem in a lot of ways. They're all different mental health problems, but mental health in general also makes it hard to have connection to yourself, to others, to society, all these different ways. So you combine those two things, And it makes for a very hard existence for a lot of people because connection is really what we need in our life. So when I started this talk, I talked to a lot of the addicts that I reached out to a few of them. The one that I've built a bond with, and I said, "Can you really go deep with me here? Because I know he's had a hard life. He's a heroin addict. It's not a weak drug." And I said to him, "Talk to me about your experience. Please tell me what it felt like for you." And he said, for him, he really, really felt like he could not get the relief he needed from the heroin because what it was doing was numbing him. What he wanted was relief, but it was numbing. Immediately the pain was gone, but it wasn't actually healing anything. And in fact, as we talked, we came up with this analogy because I asked him, I was like, "It's still a drug. You get people to say to you, it's still a drug, I bet." He's like, "Yes, but the difference is, for me," he said, "it's between using a fly swatter and a hammer to kill a bug." He's like, when I was using a hammer, which was the heroin, I would put holes in my life and I wouldn't kill the bug or my problem. Or as a fly swatter, I have grace and I'm just killing the problem or the bug in this case. And I can move through, but it's the right tool for the right problem." And he said, and more than that, the reason I can use that tool is because I can look at my problem with a buffer between me and the problem, and that buffer is love. He's like, it's not numbness, it's a connection to me and my problem through a pathway of love where I can get to the other side and look at it and then deal with whatever I need. More than that, as a person going through addiction, he shared with me HALT, HALT. It's a recovery tool. So it stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And he said, hungry and tired, you can usually find solutions for it. I can take a nap, I can get some food. But angry and lonely, not so easy. How many people of us have felt that? It is not an easy thing, even when you have people that love you, to reach out if you're lonely or angry or whatever. But again, if he's going through those things, the mushrooms give him the buffer. So he's like, now I can look at what I'm angry about. And most often, it's something that I need to fix. Or if I'm lonely, I'm actually looking for connection. And the mushrooms give me the vulnerability that he needed to step into to get that connection with people that he loves in his life. And he said, to be honest with you, I've had to sever some connections because they're not healthy anymore. Because now I'm connecting to me and now I need to build new connections. So that is also an important thing that we have to work on with our life. It's not just about not connecting to bad things, but connecting to good things. You have to do both. So his thing was so powerful to me because I also asked him, of all of this, what's your favorite thing? And it was none of those things. It was, there's no withdrawal, there's no negative effects, there's diminishing returns, so his body naturally tells him when he needs to have a break. It was all of the positivity with none of the bad things. So he's like, I don't have to worry about if I'm going to get addicted, because if you don't know this about mushrooms, they have diminishing returns. If you take them too many days in a row, they just stop working. 72 hours, you need a break. If you take giant journeys, you need more and more, they just stop working. And your body knows this, and it'll give you that break. And it was really nice for him to be able to feel like it's not dangerous, it's healthy. So that was one of my favorite experiences. The next one is the hardest for me to talk about, and that's because it talks about the military members and the families of their community. For me, it's hard because of the heaviness of the stories that I've heard. For me, war is not a natural thing. Killing is not a natural thing, especially through the nature's wisdom that I've learned through these plants. It's about regeneration and balance and reciprocity and connection, but not destruction and domination, which is a lot of what these people are experiencing through war and these terrible experiences. To be honest with you, there's a lot of times they can't really tell me with their words what they've been through. They can just tell me what it feels like to carry it. And I can't look at it away from their eyes. I just can't, because I can feel their pain. And they deserve healing through all of that. It's a really hard thing to talk about. But through these medicines, like I said, I have PTSD, so I know that it can offer relief to people. And it does help people going through hard, difficult day-to-day lives deal with some of the anxiety, some of the depression. It also doesn't show up on a regular drug test, so they can live their normal lives, still have active duty, and still have these things on the side as some of their tools. More than that, they experience a lot of loss, not just active duty, but their family members, their loved ones. And when they do have that loss, this is another thing that cancer patients use them for. Loss is hard. Death is hard for a lot of us. But when you start to take mushrooms, you realize this is only a tiny part of what there is. And most of what there is, we can't even see and don't know about. And it gives you this peace that you can't really explain to a lot of people unless you've had the journey. But I know, because I've lived it myself, what that peace comes like from losing loved ones. I'm 41 now. The last time I saw my parents was my 21st birthday. So it'll be literally the same amount of time as I was out as when I was in this year. It's a big year for me. But that loss was not unpainful. And it does not mean that I don't know that they're out there. But I am connected to myself and the alignment that is me. And I have peace around what is being brought to me and around them as well. It gives you more of a meaning to these things. And more than that, it also gives you healing and forgiveness for them as well. And even loved ones that have passed, sometimes people will have messages, especially on higher journeys, where they talk to them. It's a pretty unique and amazing experience where they can help you understand the wounds that you didn't even know you have. So next, the reason I think I want to talk about this, and especially leading from that, is that's a spiritual thing in our lives that we don't often have answers for. There is no one answer, but the mushrooms can help you find your peace. And I find that that's because mushrooms are really a gateway to spirituality in so many ways, not just like the experience, but the things it opens you up to afterwards. So with that in mind, let's turn our conversation to more entheogenics, specifically DMT. I don't know if any of you have had it here, but we'll talk about this is a little, it's hard to pronounce, so I'm going to spell it out for you, but it's called NN-DMT, or dimethyltryptamine is the long version of it, but it's most commonly known as the active ingredient in ayahuasca. So if you've ever heard of ayahuasca, it's really known for the intense, longer journeys that it offers. DMT is 4 to 10 minutes. It's shortened down, it's extracted from the vine so that you can have two different types of experience. We'll start on the microdosing end, and this is why it was given to me. It was given to me by one of my friends who's actually the chemist that I use for everything. He's a super amazing human, and I love him to death. He knows some stuff that I go through, especially I have pain, I'm disabled. So he said to me, at the end of the days, when you really do a lot of your mushroom stuff because it's physical, try this. Just a little hit. It won't do that much as far as like, you'll see, he said. He's like, but I promise you, you won't go crazy. So I was like, all right, well, so when I have a day, I'll try it. So at the end of the day, when I was at an 11, I could not deal with the pain. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this thing. Little tiny hit. Warm fuzzies all over. It was like the most peaceful, warm thing, but also immediately pain gone, because it interrupts the default mode network. So I have on this side of my body almost always just rushing pain from nerve stuff. I take nerve blockers, all this kind of stuff. It was like ding, gone. Like it was just like everything was better, and I could handle the pain. But then what I also noticed over time is I was taking it more often for this pain. But what I do in the evenings before bed, again, because I have PTSD, so at night, sometimes my dreams are the only time that really that PTSD can kind of get away from me, because I have coping tools while I'm awake. But while I'm asleep, not so much. So what I do is gratitude before bed. That is my tool. It's the only thing I can really control. If I can put myself in that vibration, in that frame of mind, I'm a lot better at night. Well, sometimes it is not easy to get in that gratitude state of mind. It's a you know those days. We've all had them. Well, I was noticing those days I used the DMT for pain, gratitude came easier. It was like I could remember so much easier. I am in a meat suit on a rock flying through space. That is my new saying, and I'm going to say it a lot because it reminds us who we really are. Because a lot of the stuff that we care about doesn't matter on a day-to-day basis, but when you get back to gratitude, you remember what does. And the DMT at the microdose level, I can focus again and remember, and it gives me that warm fuzzy. Which leads me to, did I try more doses? Yes, I did. I definitely started to go up the ladder and start to explore. So if you blow all the air out of your lungs when you take a DMT pen and you suck it all back into DMT, you can, and especially if you do that more than once, usually twice, you can do what they call have a breakthrough experience or a blast off experience, or what I call talk to God, because that is literally what it is. There's different realms you can go to. Your gods, my gods, everyone's gods are there, and you can talk to all of them. And it's a range, you know. Microdose, talk to God. There are a million realms between there that you can talk to and think about, and experiences you can have, and it really does open you up, these kind of experiences. But more than that, it gives you what you need. And I want to share, because it kind of changes everything how you see in life, some of the other experiences that I've seen people have specifically around DMT the most. And that is, there was a time that somebody told me that they had their first hit of DMT. They were going through some very bad things in their life. And when I say very bad, this was their own judgments of themselves. They were doing some very wrong things. And some of it they wouldn't even tell me. So I believe them. But when they took the first hit of DMT, they wanted that blast off. They wanted to go all the way to space, be high, all of that. But when they went there, they met an entity, first time they did it, and the entity said, hello, welcome to the space of love. You are also not welcome here any longer. And if you hit that pen again, I'm going to take you somewhere where you don't want to go, and it will not be a space of love unless you change your life. This is your one option, choice, like a chance. We're giving it to you. Go change your life. And he said, I did. I believed him. And I did not take a hit again until I changed my life. And then when I went back, I was welcome to the space of love. This does happen with mushrooms. I've had the mushrooms. People tell me mushroom spirits block me out until I change my life. Much less common. It happens a lot more with DMT, with people who are going through bad experiences, because my personal belief, it's your soul. We're all one, all of that. It knows what you need, and it's going to tell you the message in a way that you can hear it, in a way that no one else in the world is going to be able to tell you, because it's your God, your entity, your spirit, whatever you believe, it's going to tell you what you need to hear. And more than that, I talked to this person and I asked him, like, why were you doing those things? Because I'm a curious person and I had to know. And he said, I was like, you felt like I was broken. Like I did bad things because I was a hurt person and I was hurting myself and hurting other people. That's what we do sometimes when we're hurt. But the medicine made him see, because he didn't really have to explain to them where he was broken, that he wasn't broken. That made him see where he needed to be fixed, and it was his own stuff that he needed to love himself through. Because the medicine does tell you you're not broken, you're becoming. And this is a really cool graphic that I love, because the way that I think of all of these entheogens are as very gentle locksmiths. They're going to come in and look at all the doors and all the locks you've closed and gently go, this one needs open. Oh, you lost the keys? Don't worry, I got you. Oh, you threw those keys away? That's fine, we got you. Gently, with love, and open the places that you need to love, open to have the love come back into you. And they will give you in a way that I can't explain to you what it's like to be trans. I can't explain to you what it's like to grow up in a cult. I can't explain to you to like all of those things combined, especially because I was homeless, to eat out, all of those things. But I didn't have to explain it to the mushrooms at all. They get it. They know exactly what it felt like and exactly what I needed to hear to know that what I needed to do to get through. And they do that for everybody, not just me. That's the beautiful thing about them. And that's because mycelium is a connector. It's in the ground, it connects the trees, it connects us to our loved ones. It's a connector. It builds better neural pathways in your brain. It's what it does, is it connects us. And the reason I really want to talk about this is because we're not alone in this life. And a lot of times I think we forget that we're going through life on this space rock and we need connection. For me, I didn't have that in my life for a very long time, especially coming where I came from. I don't have a family. And the mushrooms have really brought to me the people that I need. I want to talk specifically in this about, the reason I bring this up is I've had 2 bad journeys in my life. And I've had a million journeys. And bad is relative, and I'm using that term on purpose because I want to talk about the ways people experience them and talk about them. Both of these journeys were trying to teach me the same thing. The first time I took them, I did not have the right connection. I was with an amazing human, but we were not connected in the right way. I did not feel safe. I did not have the tools to deal with what these mushrooms were telling me at the end in that time. But I knew I needed to deal with it. I just knew I couldn't right then. So I told them, not right now. I journaled a little about it. I said, later, bring this up when I'm ready. And then I was just trusted that it wasn't. And I had many journeys. But about a year later, many differences in my life, mushrooms brought to me. They connected me to now what is my best friend in my life. And I could tell you the story of how we met. That's a whole thing. There's a lot to how this connection even happened. But beyond all circumstances, during this second journey, she ended up being there for me. I tipped someone off that this was going to be a difficult, rocky road, and they got in touch with her. And she was there. And through that journey, I admitted out loud things I had never admitted out loud to anyone, let alone another human, not myself, not at all. And I knew the mushrooms could love me through it. I was used to going through a lot of different, to be honest with you, this was the fifth species I had grown. So I actually wasn't ready for this experience. I didn't know it at the time. It was a brand new species because I had grown 4 other species, tons of different strains, but this was new to me. And it making me admit to her all the things that were going on, the way that I really felt, my deepest thing. And she loved me through it in a way that I had never been in my entire life. And the mushrooms waited until I was connected to someone that could give me that back in my life. Like I said, I had many journeys between then. And since then, she's given me a lot of that experience in other ways. And the mushrooms really gave us that trust and bond to be able to have that. So I want to talk about a little bit more about journeys, but it matters to me because these mushrooms will give you what you need, but you also need other things besides just the mushrooms. You need to put the tools in your life to be able to have them and to be able to have the best journey. So I want to talk a little bit about the best journey that you can have, some intentional tips, just in case you ever do want to have a bigger journey. The first is set an intention. The number one intention always should be surrender, because you don't really get a choice. The mushrooms will take you where they want to take you. You're going to get the journey you need, not the one you want. But outside of that, you can set, healing, love. I want to try and fix this thing if I can, or whatever's going on with you. Secondly, I just shared a story about someone helping me, and I'm the mushroom man, and I needed it. To have someone on speed dial or with you, or somebody that you trust, somebody that is safe, that no matter what, you're going to be able to express what's going on, and they're not going to judge you. It's a very important safety thing. And there's people that will do this for you all over, especially here in Colorado. Reach out to me if you need to find someone. Next is music. Music is really your ground on a lot of the most beginner mushrooms, the cubensis mushrooms. I have other ones where music's not your ground, and we can talk about those if you come over and see me. But most of the time, the playlist is really going to set your everything for you. So get those set in advance. There's ones you can search online, but familiarity is really nice. Make something calming, soothing, and more upbeat. I mean, if you want to deal with some specific issues, maybe put those things in there, but have some lightness to your playlist. Next, we talked about having a safe person, safe setting, same thing. You need to be able to really feel safe. It's so important because you are going to be vulnerable. And the most things that you're going to be feeling is what is going on, even if you don't have the words of it. So if you're not in a safe place, you're not a safe person, the energy is off, you're going to feel it. So definitely safe setting. The next thing I'm going to share a story about, and that's that they're grown with love. And I knew this, like the crystal structure, all of that. I believed it, but I had somebody come to me because I help with a different few groups, and they said to me, like, I've been journeying for a long time, and I have been having bad journey. Like, it has been awful. They said anxiety, nothing but hard journeys. And I was like, let's figure it out. Let's dive in. Like, what's going on here? And I said, let's start with, where are you getting your mushrooms? And they're like, same person the whole time. So we moved off of that. But then we circled back around after like an exhaustive amount of questioning. And I was like, okay, who is this person? What are they going through? What's going on? And we figured out through a long conversation, they were going through a divorce. The mushrooms were grown in their closet, which was the battlefield of their battle at the moment. And the mushrooms were absorbing all of it. So I said, let's try these mushrooms. And I gave them some. They didn't have that experience again. So really knowing where your mushrooms are grown from and that they're grown with love, it's super important. Next is an eye mask. A lot of people get overwhelmed by the visuals on intense or bigger journeys because they can be kind of intense. An eye mask can make you focus and go inward. And also you can enjoy the colors and the fractals a little more with the eye mask sometimes. Next is a warm blanket. As you can see, I always run warm. I'm always warm. But for some reason on mushrooms, I am cold. Like very, very cold. And so I love the heated blanket during that time. I'm pretending I'm in winter, and it's just the best. Like, it's such a cozy, loving experience. And then when I'm coming down, I get hot again, and it's kind of funny, the contrast, but have a warm blanket. Next is a journal. You might not always understand what you write down later as much, but it'll kind of jog your memory and bring things back up. It's a really nice thing because you will forget things, and it can kind of bring you back to the place that you're at. Next, and we give these out at a booth anytime you get stuff from us, it's charcoal pills. They bring down the level. If you're in a journey and there's anything left in your system, in your stomach especially, it'll just absorb it so you don't go any further, bring your level down. And on that same topic, we also give you the number. You can write it down here, to the Fireside Project. It's a psychedelic peer support line. It's 100% free. And you can have, it's confidential. You can call them anytime. One of my very best friends is one of the supervisors there. And so he is amazing and has nothing but high vibes and great people. And so they do a really good job of it. Like I said, it's free and it's confidential. So to sum up, what did we talk about today? Talked about a lot. Mushrooms, yes, but we really talked about coming home, back to that connection to ourselves, about unlocking the parts of ourselves that we might have shut off with these gentle locksmiths that really love us and care about us. We talked about not just to ourselves, but connecting back to others, because those connections are also super important. We need each other. Next, we talked about how you don't just consume mushrooms, you collaborate with them. They are gentle guides, but they know what you want and they will give you back as much as you give them. So give them the love, tell them what you need, and they'll give it back to you as well. Also, we figured out that if you are willing to listen, they're going to walk you back home, whatever that looks like for you. That, no matter what it does look like for you, though, it'll be rooted in love of yourself. That is so much what we're missing these days, is that love back to who we really are. As I said, I'm Mush Love. You know, we grow our mushrooms with love and light. And as long as you know you're getting your mushrooms that way as well, if you do have a difficult experience, dive in. That's an important thing. The mushrooms are not doing it to you, they're doing it with you and for you. It's a super important thing to remember, because not every journey is easy, but every journey is sacred. Every journey is sacred. Lastly, integrate. Integrate your experiences with your community and with love. As I said, having the right people in my life has made all of the difference. And I know that it will make a difference in yours as well, because it's not easy to connect with other people, but it is worthy. So worthy for yourself. Thank you. That's my time for the main thing, but if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Thank you. Yeah.
So, do you set intention with DMT? And what other names are DMT known as? Is it Bufo? Have you heard of Bufo? Is that the same thing?
It is. Bufo is a different kind of DMT.
Oh, okay.
It is.
Okay.
It's usually comes from a frog. So I work with a Bufo facilitator that gets it from a frog, but she's trying to switch over to 5-MeO, which is a synthetic form because they don't have to kill the frogs for it, but also it gives you the same intensity of experience. It is more intense, the Bufo and the 5-MeO, on the smaller side. On the larger side, they're a little similar, but they are definitely, it is called, like you said, DMT, dimethyltryptamine, 5-MeO. NN is the most common one, the one we provide available, because it's not as easy to go into those harder experiences. Because on the 5-MeO, you can almost like even black out on some levels, like throw up, all of that. On the NN, you don't have that. It's not like that crazy. But on the Bufo, that's why you need a facilitator. And if you are starting to do, like, if you want to really blast off and do the deep ones, you can have those experiences and have someone else with you, for sure. But yeah.
What was the name of the guy you were talking about? He spoke into water flows.
Masaru Emoto, Masaru Emoto, Dr. Masaru Emoto. And he's got tons of images. He played music to them. The different compositions look different, like words look different. My favorite one, and I probably should put this in there, was he took water from the Fukushima dam, where the bomb went off. Fukushima, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about, the dam. And he had it, took crystal structure, froze it beforehand, had it blessed by monks, and did it afterwards. And it looked nasty, gross, to wow, phenomenal. Like, you could feel it in the pictures. Yeah, they literally transform the water, and that's the vibration. And the better part is he did the same thing, and he did it with non-shamans, spiritual people, just regular people. And the cool part was he had them focus on this remotely. They were all over the world. They put water in a remote place. They did the same thing with structure, and they did 2 samples. One was controls to make sure, and one was in this remote location. Same thing. All of this is on his website. You can see the before, the after, and it's energy. I do the same thing with my water now. I'm like, I love you, 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 I love you. Let me drink my water. Yeah, like, because it's water. It's going to be the same thing. We're not freezing it and learning, but it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
We are almost 70% on average, a little bit less as you get older. Kids are sometimes more little chubby thing.
Self-mantras and stuff like that are powerful too. It's a positive affirmation that you tell yourself, because that's going to change the structure.
Yeah, all of it changed the cell structure of your water. Yep, it's literally about your energy. Your water is a bit of the energy. That's also why a lot of, we're here. We can talk about the woo-woo stuff, astrologers, astronomy, the moon. The tides are affected by water. Why wouldn't we be? Stuff like that. The entire ocean is affected by the moon and the water. So we are just little mini oceans walking around. Any more questions?
Hey, what does that name or that number that you call if you have a band?
Yeah, the fireside. It's the fireside hotline. Let me go back and we can pull it up. Other way, I think. Yeah,
Is
that way.
that if you're on a journey and you want to like talk to somebody about it?
Yeah.
While you're journeying.
While you're journeying
like,
or
while
afterwards.
driving,
They
or-
get their funding from the calls. So like even if you just are in the middle of a hard journey and you're like, I just need someone to talk to, they will they can help with anything except suicidal ideation. That they'll have to refer you to, actual medical people as far as they'll have to come and help you. But anything besides that, and especially their favorite are obviously the fun stuff, anything silly. But like one of my best friends, like he is the supervisor that gets the volunteers. And so, like, when I have a regular problem, he's one of the guys I talk to. Like, I just call him and he's like, Alex, there's space for that in your life. You can just talk about it. Whatever it is, even if you're feeling it and it's hard, we can just talk about it. There's space for it. He's so calm, no matter what it is, and grounding, and just amazing human. And that's how they all are. And he's the one that hires all of them, so I trust him completely, implicitly. Obviously, I call him. So, yeah, and that's how they are. But, like, he goes through everybody, sees what their skills are, and then they all train them on different things, what they need. But the thing that most of these people are already therapists, they're already coaches, they're already facilitators in a lot of these places. So they know what they're doing, and that's what he's looking for. Yeah, it's 623-473-7433. And I think it's 623 Fireside, if I remember right. Or 62 Fireside, something like that. Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
I have no clue. How do you take a microdose? Is it eaten? Is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
So it is eaten, but there's several different forms that we have. So we have capsules, chocolate, honey. You can take them raw, but the important thing is that it's measured. So we start people off at about 0.125 or 0.1 grams. It's a tenth of a gram approximately. And so we have different ways that you can measure that with our different products. But then you combine it, like I said earlier in the talk, with the lion's mane and the niacin, and those are 7 days a week. And if you come over to the booth, I can give you a little sheet about all of this as far as so you don't have to remember all of it. But it's 1,000 milligrams of lion's mane and 100 milligrams of niacin. But we start you at half. And the reason for that is the niacin is flushing. And so for the first 15 minutes, especially when you're first taking it, it really does flush through your system. Like some people will turn beet red because they have not had good blood flow for a long time, and that now their blood is flowing. And even I had surgery last year, and when I first started taking my lion's mane and niacin again, they had to do really bad IVs on me because I had a bad infection. I had to go back several times. So my veins were blown, just blown. They couldn't even get an IV back in. When I started taking the lion's mane and the niacin again, my arms felt like they're on fire. And you ever, when you get cold and then you get warm back up and they're itching? That's what it felt like for 20 minutes after I took it every single time for almost 2 months. It was just like I needed to itch and now it doesn't have to do that anymore. It was literally rebuilding the pathways, flushing my system, doing all the things it needed to do. And now I'm good again. But it was a rough recovery, and I'm really glad that I had them. So
is it, you take these things repetitively over a period of time? Does it, when you do the slow path, as opposed to
yeah, 4 days a week.
How long? How many weeks or months before you start seeing the difference?
So I work with a doctor that actually did a study on this, and what they had them do is they were like, we're not going to tell you how long, we're just going to have you come tell us when you feel it and see how long it takes. So they didn't want to put any, qualifiers around it. It was approximately 10 weeks to about 3 months when the average person started going, I just don't know why, but I do feel different on a daily basis. And so the more sensitive you are, I've had people come to me and go, wow, I feel completely different a week later. I had somebody, and I should have shared this experience. I think I skipped over it. They had anxiety their whole life, literally to the point where when I met them, they stood like this because their stomach muscles were clenched all the time. They were always like this. She wrote me 2 months later and she's like, I have to talk to you. And I was a little worried to be honest. I was like, what's going on? And she's like, you've changed my whole life. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. And so I was like, tell me about your experience. I really want to know. She had a therapist and a chiropractor that she went to try and help with these things separately. Both of them asked her, what are you doing? Because her whole body went in. Her posture was different. She was a completely different person after 2 months of microdosing. Mental health wise, the tools that her therapist had been giving her all this time and she was doing that were not working now worked. And so all of the things just clicked. So it's not just the medicine, it's what you're doing, it's the tools you have, it's the connections you have. But on average, 2 months is around when I start to hear from people. It can take as much as 6 months, especially if it's like dementia, Alzheimer's, things that are really needing neural pathways built. But it also isn't lifelong that you have to take it, or you can. So like for myself, again, this is a trans thing, but I take testosterone shots on Wednesday. But naturally, because I don't make my own hormones, they diminish over time. So for me, my hardest days are Monday or Tuesday. It is really fucking hard some days on a Monday or Tuesday. So I microdose Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So by the time I do my shot on Wednesday, I am great. And I have not had that problem as almost at all since I've done. Every once in a while, I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling a little low. Then I realize, oh, it's Tuesday. Okay, it's fine. But the microdosing just gives me on those days the little boost and connection I need from the dip in my natural level, because I don't have the natural level of testosterone that most people would, until I can get the testosterone again on Wednesday. So it depends on you, what you use it for, but you don't have to use it forever. Sometimes people come to it, go away, come back, depending on what you need it for in your life. And especially, I would say, the people that I have that are customers that are getting into their later years in life, they are like, I'm never going to not use it again, because it's now a daily part of their practice, and they don't want to lose a lot of the things that they're building. So it's really personal though. But yeah, that's about. One more question? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do exactly 2 capsules. So you can take 1 for 550 or 2 for 1,100. Exactly. Yeah. We start everyone on 1 capsule for 2 weeks, and then 2 capsules from then on. Yeah. Any more questions? Thank you for coming. I really appreciate everything.